This is a Podco original.
Called the casting team, and the casting team was like, oh my gosh, this tape never made it to us.
What?
No. Who's been your favorite OG cast member that you gotten to work with?
Oh, wow.
Pretend like he's not here. David's not here right now.
Oh, okay.
What was he like to have on set?
But he came up, and you be careful of this, Max. He came up and tried to divide the cast. I don't get really mad all the time, but when I get mad, I get mad. You know what I mean?
We're on a podcast.
Right. Oh, we're on a podcast, and we have a very special guest today, Jen. Well, first of all, how are you, Jennifer Stone?
I know you just skipped right past me. Thanks a lot.
Entschuldigung, which means I'm sorry in German.
Wait, say it again.
Entschuldigung.
Bless you.
Yeah. Oh, God. That's my joke. Okay.
I'm great. Even better now that we have your guest on.
Yes.
Who I'm very excited to meet and talk to.
I'm very excited. And he played Wesley on the Disney show Gabby Duran and the Unsittables. And he's currently on two television shows, that 90's show on Netflix, and also something that hasn't come out yet that he's working on, The Better Sister, with Elizabeth Banks, Jessica Biel, and Matthew Modine, who I love all of them so much. Maxwell Donovan! There he is!
Maxwell in the house. Thank you for coming. Oh, go.
Yeah, thank you for being here today.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yes, and you're in New York right now filming.
I am.
If you mean.
I know, it's fun doing television shows, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I love you to death, but what kind of a question is that? It's fun doing television.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you guys are young,
Yeah.
so there's been quite a bit of my life where I wasn't doing television shows, so it's good. Okay, so you're, well, let's just say the way that I met you was I did an episode of your show, of that 90's show, which is the second season. Half of it is out on Netflix now, and then the next half of the second season, I think it's October or something.
I think so. I think it's on my mom's birthday, October 24th.
Oh, that's so cool.
Well, happy birthday, Mom.
I know.
Okay, so let's jump right in. My first question for you was, when did that acting bug bite you? When did you go, I want to do the acting
When
thing?
did you want to join the circus, so to speak?
Well, I mean, truthfully, I grew up in Colorado, and so I always was just obsessed with going to the movies, literally since I could sit up on my own. My parents were like, all right, you're planting your butt in the movie seat, and you're watching this. I think my sister and I would always put on these performances at dinner and stuff, which I'm sure our grandparents loved. And it was sort of like through that, we did this little summer camp Aspen that was with Theater Aspen, and they were like, hey, if you guys are able to, you should go out to LA and try out a pilot season, which we'd never heard any of those words. So we were like, pilot season? We're not trying to fly a plane.
And for the audience who doesn't know, pilot season, I wouldn't say happens a lot anymore, but in the first couple of months.
When it was more just like your four big networks.
Yeah, so about for 3 months, NBC will do 20 pilots and CBS will do a certain amount of pilots. And of those 20 pilots, 2 might get picked up. Yeah. And of those shows, 1 might actually last.
Well, that was what was that time frame? I think it was, because I did the same thing, Max, where I was in Texas and I was like, what is, it was cows and shit. It wasn't, you know, pilot season and audition. So, but I think it was around, because it was right after Sundance. So it was February, March-ish, and then about April, it kind of died up.
Beginning of the year. And then now with streaming and everything,
it's all year long.
It's kind of all year round, especially with limited series like the one that Max is doing. So you come out to LA. Where do you land? Are you still in the same place where you?
Yeah, I'm not quite. I'm in the same neighborhood. We landed at. I don't know if you guys know Oakwood.
Yeah, of course.
I was about to ask. I lived at Oakwood.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
When Jen was there,
now.
When Jen was there, it was Frankie Muniz. And who else was there?
Hilary Duff.
Hilary Duff.
Josh Hutcherson, it was
all the kid actors are going there because that's where they,
Well, but it was also the only place that you could rent a studio for a month.
That also was furnished and stuff.
Yeah, that was furnished and
So you land at the Oakwood, which is near Warner Brothers. And what was your first gig? What was the first job that you booked?
Well, I think the first thing was they brought a bunch of managers there, like through that young actor program that they had. And I just sort of tagged along like behind my sister, and they were like, hey, you guys should both do this. And I was like, twist my arm. And we booked a music video together. I think it was called Love or something like that. And they like took us to the beach, and I loved it. No pun intended, especially Crafty. And that was where I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing.
This is why I like Max.
You could be
the free
his son.
food.
You could
the free
be his
food.
son.
That's all I say. People are like, what's your favorite thing about show business? And I'm like, the free food.
It's amazing.
That's also your dad. I hear your dad in that all. Yeah.
But so you're working on Love. That was, did you say a music video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like a 2-day shoot, and then after that, I was kind of like, well, why would I want to do anything else?
Well, there you go.
And
What's
it
your
snowballed
favorite?
from there.
What's your favorite genre to work in? Because I mean, I know sometimes like I love that I'm asking that because I always have a hard time with that question. Because to me, I'm like, it's about the characters. But like, if you had to pick between like horror, drama, comedy, romance, like what's something like a world you like to play in?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think the majority have done comedy.
Yeah.
And those are just great sets to be on.
Yeah.
And it is with the character, there's so much to explore there. And you can ground it, or you can like take it all the way over the top. It's like you can do so much with it. But I mean, drama too. It's really fun to tap into the emotions. And, I don't really have a straight answer.
No. And like I said, I love that I'm asking that question because I'm completely full of shit. Like I can't answer it either. But like it's because to me it's about character, and there's elements of both in everything. You know what I mean? It's like we have moments where we cry, where we laugh. Like that's just life, right? So it's like the more true to life it is, it involves all of those genres. So yeah, bullshit question.
I love doing drama. I love doing comedy. And I when people say, do you like this or that, comedy or drama? Yeah. I'm always like, it's the same. It's the same. Because the character is living an experience. And I don't think a character thinks he's funny, and a lot of times
that's death. That's comedy death to be like, I'm going to be funny right now. Right. Like it's the worst.
And there's for me, I have a real hard time watching sitcom now. Because I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen. The joke is going to be there. Yeah. So I like to watch like Game of Thrones or, House of Dragon or The Bear. I like to watch what's happening. I want
to clean these glasses as well.
Oh my God, Jen's cleaning my glasses for me.
So
I like to watch things where I don't know also who the actors are. Because if you watch something that's... you can immerse yourself. So a lot of like foreign shows that I watch, I like it because I don't know those actors.
Well, like House of the Dragon's a prime example. Because are you watching that show? The guy that plays Aemond, I know they all have the same fucking name, but
gosh, yeah.
the one with the eye patch.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
he's unbelievable.
So good, yeah. Well, and
I saw him in Saltburn too, and I was like, oh, it's him.
And he was a totally different character. Like I guess there was like parallels in the fact that they were both kind of underdogs. But yeah, it was wild. It was, but I understand what you mean because I think something gets lost when you're like, oh, I'm watching Tom Cruise do this thing.
Wait a minute,
I'm
Jennifer Stone. Tom Cruise is a Tom Cruise. If it's a Tom Cruise,
but you're watching
movie,
Tom Cruise do things.
I know.
Lord.
Okay, so I want to ask you about Gabby Dunn. What was that audition like? Had you already done Bunked and Thundermans prior to that, or no?
I had. So it was, I think I was 12 when I auditioned for it. It was like, March. And then I didn't hear anything about it until May. And I was 13 by then. And I remember I was at my birthday party in Colorado and get the call, and I couldn't tell anyone. And I couldn't tell anyone until August when the press release came out. Yeah. So all my friends were like, oh my gosh, he's just having the best birthday. He's so excited we're here. And I'm like, yes, but.
Also.
The timing of that is interesting that you found out on your birthday. That's super cool. So now I have to go and live at the Oakwoods, or I'm getting an apartment, or you did like 41 episodes of that show, right?
Yes. And actually we filmed up in Vancouver.
Oh.
So yeah, it was really interesting. We road tripped up there. At a point, it was my entire family and my cat and dog. all squeezed into like a 1-bedroom apartment. But it was amazing. I mean, it's gorgeous up there. And
yeah, Vancouver's beautiful. My brother lives up there in West Van, and I've worked up there, and it's such a great town. Everything's very accessible, and it's also very film based. You know.
Yeah. Well, and going from because like we mentioned a little bit before, you had been on other kid shows with like Thundermans and Bunked, and there's a bit we've talked with other guests as well. But I always find it interesting. How do you approach being a guest on a show, which I find to be more challenging than being a regular? Like, how do you approach coming in, making your impact, and getting out versus letting it build?
Ooh, it's a different approach because when you're coming in for 1 or 2 episodes, it does feel like you have your whole arc right then.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to showcase that character versus the slower burn. Mm-hmm. I feel like I just do a compressed version of the same sort of process.
Makes sense.
Like, well, here's where I'm starting, here's where I'm ending up. Yeah. Oh man, it's a tough one.
Well, because I mean, you went on not only to do after that show, you got the 90's show, right? I mean, I know there was probably some things in between,
right? But okay, so here's a good question.
Might have actually been back to back.
Back to back. Oh, look at you!
It was unbelievable.
That's really great. That is a pinch me thing.
So a lot of times when you're on a television show, and you're not sure if it's going to get picked up or not, they have you legally for a certain amount of time. So you were already released from the Disney show, and then you were able to audition for the 90's show.
Yes. So we wrapped Gabby Duran in March of 2021, I think it was. And I went back, did junior and half of my senior year of high school. And then I got the audition for 90's. And so by then I think they had made the decision, no season 3, but we'll let you go on and do your other stuff. And yeah.
Did you have any did you watch the 70's show at all? Like, did you have any reference? Okay, yeah.
I think it said
I'm the biggest 70's geek.
I mean, it was a great show. It was so good. So, but I don't know about you, but I tend to self-sabotage a little bit. I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but there's so many good auditions. I totally bombed because I was really excited about it. There was a bunch of Walking Dead auditions that I totally fucked because I just was like, it's The Walking Dead. I'm so excited. And I went in and was like with zombies. But so how did you get the audition? You love the 70's show. How do you make it your own? How do you go into that and not have such a big behemoth of a show in your head?
I definitely thought that because I was so excited about it, and I was like, okay, these are new characters, but I'm like, he's a little Kelso, a little and so I was like, okay, don't try to copy anyone. And I sent in my tape, and I heard nothing for 3 months, 4 months, and I was like, oh, it was going to be perfect. And then it came back around. My agent saw that they put it back out there and called the casting team, and the casting team was like, oh my gosh, this tape never made it to us.
What?
No.
And, yeah. And so Geraldine, our casting director, I know you've met, but she's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so she saw that and was like, oh my gosh, how did this never get to me? And called me in, and then from there on it was, I think, a 2-week 6 audition process, but
6
then
auditions.
I definitely got even more in my head.
Sorry. Did you so Bonnie and Terry Turner were a part of that? Did you because nowadays, and you were shooting, this is all kind of COVID, a little after COVID, but did you go in the room and work with them? Did you do chemistry with the other actors?
It was all over Zoom, which honestly was okay. But I prefer in person.
Of course.
Yeah.
At least there was still some connection.
The weirdest thing I find about that, and I don't know let me know if you've experienced this too, but the Zoom auditions, especially towards the end, right? Because I always laugh with auditions where I feel like each one you add a person to that room or multiple people. So at the end, there's all those little fucking squares, right? And so you're like, where do I look? I know if I look in the camera, it looks like I'm more connected, but I want to look at the person I'm reading with. My ex did a chemistry read over Zoom, and it was so weird. It was bizarre.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah, how do you guys get past that? What's your approach? Do you look at the camera or do you look at the box?
I have only done one Zoom audition.
Yeah.
Where I was looking into the camera is what I chose to do. But
I look right at the green dot.
Oh, okay.
Next to
Maybe that's what I'm fucking up.
Come on, Jen.
I'm looking at the Brady Bunch squares.
That's why Max is booking everything.
Yeah. They're like, she looks distracted.
So what would you say the biggest difference is? I mean, but you were doing a single camera then up in Vancouver, right? It wasn't multicam?
Correct, yeah. I'd only ever done the guest star on Thundermans. That's the only multicam I'd ever done.
Interesting.
Which, interestingly enough, they just did the Thundermans movie,
Yeah.
and now they're going to go up to Vancouver and shoot a multi-camera show, which typically doesn't happen. And I've been told that they're doing 2 episodes in 1 week. That's a lot of episodes.
I have heard that too.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It's too much. That's a soap opera schedule, which you can't do that with kids.
I think they can do it. Well, they're older now. They're more grown
No, but
up.
aren't there still young kids on the show?
I think they're skewing it older. I think the youngest
I think
daughter
they might all be over 18, yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, then, yeah, you can do a soap opera schedule.
There you go, Jen. Okay, so your new show, what was that like? So now you're going from Disney to the 90s, which is very kind of grown-up, highbrow comedy, and now what you're doing is a drama now, right?
Correct, yeah.
Oh God, you're going to be such a big
gosh.
star that you're going to remember us when you're like, you know.
Are you kidding me? I have DVDs of every single Wizards. Like,
You have the
season. I'm not
DVD
even
of Wizards?
We didn't get
I do.
DVDs.
I didn't even. I don't know if we got paid for that.
I also
even.
have
Of course we didn't.
I have the movie.
Are you have the
I'm
movie?
a huge
yeah.
fan.
So
We'll circle back to that, Max. But thank
Okay.
you.
Did you were watching Wizards prior to doing your Disney show, right?
Yeah.
So was there a little like, I want to be on Disney when you were younger? Because I think some kids like want to be on Disney and some kids are like, no, I don't want to do that, like, you know, kind of big acting. Like this one didn't want to do it. She wanted to be, you know,
I used to make
more
fun
dramatic,
of Disney Channel
right?
so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I'm a serious actor. I'm not doing this bullshit.
So did you want to be more on like kids program? I guess you were younger, so.
Yeah. I mean, growing up, Disney is like everything that I watched was on Disney Channel. And it just didn't even seem like a real possibility until we moved out to LA. And then, you know, it was like, yeah, absolutely. And you drive through Burbank, you see like the Disney Channel building, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, it's on the 21st floor.
The 21st floor.
Everybody, it's
terrifying.
such a
It's
big deal.
legendary.
It is.
funny.
That green, like silver building, the 21st
Yeah.
floor. Oh my Lord. Did you have one of those like
iconic.
all day networks there?
No.
Like
I don't think
going
so.
Oh,
in
'cause we
and
did.
testing and staying in the because a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
times when you go in and you test for a show, what's happened is you've sent in your tape that hopefully they play and they remember.
Yeah, I cannot
And
believe
then-
that.
Yeah, that is really bizarre, but also worked out, like kind of kismet that it
Yeah.
happened that way because you got the job. And so what you audition then for the casting director maybe, and then the producers, and then the producers pick like 3 or 4 people, and then they'll send them to the next level, which is for the network, and then the network will pick their picks, and then the
That's it.
studio, the production company
Yeah.
does it, and then you go to network. So at network sometimes you could wait there all day, like mix and match, and and it's so nerve wracking.
miss that.
At least for me, when you get there, you have to sign your deal. I don't know if
hate
you
it.
guys did that.
I hate it.
Like,
Yes,
you're
it's
like,
the worst.
oh
Now
my
that you
gosh,
mention it,
I
yes.
might make this much money every week. I don't know. I signed, but just focus on acting. You know.
Yeah. How am I supposed to go dance monkey dance on this thing that I've done probably 10 times already?
It's nerve wracking, and I
Sitting in the room
experienced it.
with everyone else who might get the role.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
sitting in the room with the other people,
Well,
not knowing.
At that point, too, like you all could do it. It's just a matter of like who looks like my cousin that I like, or who looks like my ex that I can't stand.
Right.
Like it's all like arbitrary shit that doesn't matter at that point. At the end, you all can do the job.
Right, and it was back in the day when I was younger. It was a lot of in-person, auditioning over and over again.
Well,
that
but
kind
this
of
is
stuff.
where I think the Zoom stuff's better, right?
Well-
Because
well-
I think like a network, instead of like looking around the waiting room at everybody and having all those faces on you.
Listen,
Ugh.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, it is a little bit more like you could put it out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
And the I'm going with four years ago.
Mm-hmm.
People were not super putting themselves on tape, but if you were out of town,
Yeah.
you would. And then I would say, they booked a series regular just from the tape.
Yeah, that was, like,
unheard of. Exactly. So wait a minute, Max, tell me a little bit more about the what is it called? Better Sister. Yeah, the show you're doing now.
So it was
chair fell apart.
My phone fell.
That was very
What was that?
Hulk Hogan, like chair slamming.
Was that audition?
That was also, which is interesting. So we were finishing up season 2 of 90, episode 13 or 14. Mm-hmm. And it was like a Wednesday after one of our network run-throughs where we do the whole show in order for the network. And I like ran to my dressing room to hop on the Zoom and do this call. And I had to go from, Nate and all big and happy to like, and crying, and I don't know how. It was total whiplash. I blacked out for it, but
I always find the blackout is the best. Like that's the goal. You're so in the moment that you completely you're not thinking about it. You're just present.
It's sometimes sometimes I have an audition in person and I'm like acting and they're not laughing at that. Oh no, I'm in my head. Oh no,
it's dead.
Should I ask them to start again? Don't do that. It's so much stuff. So you're doing the run through for 90s. You run up to your room. Now you have to be very dramatical and cry. Are you on with the producers? Are you on with any other actors? What was that Zoom
so I think
audition like?
It was the director and the 2 showrunners, and then the casting team. And so it was a fairly small room. It was like 5 or 6 people, but it was definitely all the people who were like making the call. I was just like, I think I had a sign up on my door written on the back of one of the 90s scripts, like, "Do not knock, I'm on a call."
I love that. You know what's interesting too about that? It just reminds me that my dad always used to say, even if you don't have another job, put on some makeup, go into the audition and be like, "Hey, I have to get back to set. I'm so sorry. Can I just jump in?" And and then because you're not to say that your acting didn't do everything, but when someone is not available, people love them. You know what I mean? People are very intrigued with that.
But I also think part of it too is like when you're so focused on other things in your life, right? So it's like if you're already working or like you take a trip, there's that old rule, you take a trip, you're going to get an audition or a job.
Right.
And it's because you're focused on other things. And people, there's something really attractive about someone who doesn't need something. That's why like when you walk into an audition and there's desperation, they're just like, not interested, but you're like, I could take it or leave it. All of a sudden they're like, wait, come back.
This can also go into dating. When a male is not available, then you're like, oh my God, he's not available. I want him, right? Isn't there a little bit of that?
Yeah.
It could be
taking notes here. Just don't be available.
Yeah. No, the reason I'm like, is because I've been like looking at like attachment styles. And like, I'm very anxious, which is like, they're not available. Oh my God. I have to, whatever. And I love an avoidant, which is exactly that, which is like, I'm not available. I don't give a shit. And that's why I was just like, oh God, you're hitting close to home. Anyway, nobody wants to hear about that
shit. So you're working with some of the most famous, talented people. Is there someone primarily that is Elizabeth or Jessica or Matthew in your scenes? Who are you primarily working with, or all of them?
Yeah, well, I've been lucky enough to have scenes with everyone, which is, I still haven't even processed like Gabby Duran and 90's. I'm still pinching myself about that. So this one especially, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm here in New York doing this. It's insane. The majority of my scenes are with Jess and Elizabeth. They play sisters who are both my moms. One of them is my biological mother, and one of them's my adoptive mother.
Very true.
And yeah, I mean, they're just, everyone on this project is unbelievable. It's such an amazing experience.
Well, they're powerhouses, and I think also too, like it's kind of maybe a defense mechanism is the wrong word, but like to not kind of acknowledge that so you can do the task at hand. Because if you really let it sink in, it's just too much.
Right.
I want to pivot back to the 90s show a little bit. So, I mean, you worked with several of like the OG cast members, including Uncle Fez, Wilmer Valderrama, who was on Wizard.
Yeah, because he played my brother-in-law. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I don't know why I called him Uncle Fez. That was weird. Who's been your favorite OG cast member that you gotten to work with?
Oh wow. Well, I mean, Wilmer's amazing.
Yeah.
And so is Laura, who has directed a bunch
that.
of movies.
Laura directed our episode.
Did she really?
She's so cool, so on it, and I mean, she's very professional. It's not, she's been doing this for a long time, and she was so great.
Honestly, it's hard to rank everyone took us totally under wing and like showed us the ropes, and Deborah Jo and Kurtwood are the warmest people. Yeah. All of them.
They're the best. They're so funny. They're so funny, you know, and now they're not the parents anymore. They're the grandparents.
Yeah.
You know,
you know a thing or two about that.
I know that because I'm the grandparent now. It's so weird. But I'm so young and spry. How is that possible?
All right, and I have to pretend like he's not here. David's not here right now.
Oh, okay.
What was he like to have on set? What was he like as a guest star? Because you kind of
lovely.
Because I'm always used to see him as a series regular, and then he swapped gears of being the guest. So give me one of like the memories of having David on set as a guest star that you have.
Okay, well, my first memory was they didn't have it in my script who was playing your character. I won't spoil it, but like, so I show up to the table read on Monday, and it just said TBD in there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know who's going to be here. And he walked in the room, and I was like, And I was trying to play it so cool. I was like trying to get my breakfast and then nonchalantly say hi. Yeah.
Well, the nice thing about David is I can always hear you before I see you.
Oh, yeah, I'm very loud.
Well, no, it's just, and also too, like, you laugh so much, which is one of my favorite things about you. So I always hear your laugh before you ever enter a room. I used to joke on set, I could always find David because I could just follow his laugh and it would like echo off the like soundstage.
It's true.
Awesome.
Well, you were very welcoming, and I, you know, one of the things that happened to me when I did Saved by the Bell, the college years, extra, what's his name? The Mario Lopez came up to me, and he was like, "Hey, welcome. Craft services over there. That's the closest bathroom to this." You know, and he just made me feel very welcome. And you did the same thing. You made me feel very comfortable, and that was great. And, you know, listen, when you're older, it's like a little trickier to remember your lines. So I just was like really focused on not fucking it up. You know what I mean?
Because you had some technical stuff, right?
I wouldn't say technical so much as it just was like JoJo. What do they call JoJo? Right?
JoJo. Oh.
What's her name? Who? There's Kurtwood and
Deborah Jo.
Deborah Jo.
Yeah, there's a Joe in there.
She's like, for me, one of the funniest people ever. And what was so interesting?
I cannot get through a scene with her.
Yeah, because she's so funny. She's so in it. That character is so, you're just ready for the comedy. And I watched her work out some stuff. She was unloading groceries and doing this. And she said, I need the bag a little lower so I can go here and do that. And like, she really was, I don't want to say methodical, but she was really working out her comedy. Yeah. I got a little nervous. I didn't, you know, you're not sure exactly you want to, you know, like the guest star, you want to make sure you're paying, you know, homage and participating as they, you know what I'm saying?
No.
You know, fitting in.
You want to add to their comedic.
I was intimidated by her about the comedy,
which is
you know?
so funny to me because I used to watch you do the same thing. I used to watch you do the same thing on sets where you would work out, maybe not so like methodically because you flowed, but like there is a math to comedy, and I would see you work out your bits and things like that. And that's what. And I've told this story before, Max, but like he helped me so much with like physical comedy because I was a drama actor. Like I'd been like child prostitutes and died of wall bullshit. Like that was what I did before Disney. Jeez. But like kid acting is weird. So I was like really nervous by like physical comedy. So I like would be working it out like that, and you would come help me. So it's so wild to hear you be intimidated by a process I've seen you do and been on the other side of.
Listen,
I agree. It's interesting to hear that you were intimidated. Yeah. Like you're such an expert at it. Like you come onto the set and it's watching a master class.
That's how I felt.
So like.
That feels good. Thank you very much. I'll take that. I'll take that and feel good about it. When you're doing it and you're doing it week in, week out, it's so much easier. It's a muscle. It's like you're in there doing it.
You have that.
But I know, but I hadn't been there for a second. I hadn't been on a sitcom set for a minute, so it was a little tricky. Okay. 2 movies for a second. You were in War Dogs, right? What was that like?
That was actually one of the first things I did. I think I booked that through like Featured Extra, and I think it was called Arms and the Dudes at the time. And the only info I had on it was Miles Teller.
Yeah.
And I had just watched Divergent. I was like, that guy's awesome. Didn't know what Whiplash was. In the future, I'd be very excited about that. And I think I showed up, it was like a 7-hour shoot in this little house, and just the entire team. It was Todd Phillips directing, Kevin Pollak, Jonah Hill, Ana de Armas, like all of these, again, powerhouse people. And little, I think, 11-year-old me. And I'm just supposed to be dancing and eating cake. I was like, this rules.
Amazing.
Reinforced for me. Yeah.
But to me, like, that's the best way to do it. Because you said it was an extra role, right? So
yeah.
I did the same thing. And I always recommend to actors, I'm like, do extra work first, because it allows you to be a fly on the wall. You get to watch the set and how it functions.
And that was Lava Girl and Shark Boy? No, what was it?
No, it was Spy Kids 2 or 3. I forget which one.
My gosh.
But yeah, I was like in a amusement park or something locally.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said you had Wizards DVDs and stuff like that. Was there a certain episode that you loved the best? What was your take on? I mean, like of that time, you had Zach and Cody, Hannah Montana, Wizards, Good Luck Charlie. What? Yeah. I mean, clearly you're a fan of the show. What was your take on it? What affected you about it?
Part of what I loved so much about it was the family dynamic. And I'm super close with my family, so we would all sit down and watch it every week. And I remember waiting for each episode to come out and the teasers, and I'd be watching, I think Hannah Montana and Sweet Life, and then Wizards was like the one that my family and I watched. Yeah. So it was super special in that way, but it's just also, it's iconic and hilarious. It's like, oh my gosh, you can't go wrong.
What was your favorite episode? Do you have one?
Favorite episode is tough.
Or just one you remember.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I have this very strong memory of one where, oh my gosh, how am I blanking? Where Max, swaps, and it was a different.
He wanted to go back to school or do a movie. So Jake went away for 5 episodes, and then we turned him into a girl. And so Bailey Madison turned into Maxine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think he wanted to go back to New York and go to school for a little bit.
Okay, respect.
Yeah, totally. And that was our writer's solution. So I love that. I love that because I feel like a lot of the younger boys were like, oh, we're missing Max and all this kind of stuff. But the way Bailey did it.
I was just like, hey, there's someone named Max.
Right.
See, I'm here. I love it. What I remember the most is the movie, because I've watched that probably 20 times.
What was it that affected you about the movie?
I loved the tropical setting.
Yeah. Well, I mean coming also from Colorado, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was everything about it. The parrot really stuck with me too.
The parrot part.
It was Steve Valentine.
Oh, that's
was
right.
Like
that's right.
The bad guy.
Yeah.
He was
I was in the subway and that was it. So everything outside of it was like, what happened?
Jen didn't do a lot on the movie, which was a big mistake of the person who wrote. It was
a million years ago.
But here, I'll tell you a little story.
Wow.
The person who wrote the movie was not a bad person. It's just like he didn't watch the show. Because everything the phone fell again. Oh, no. Everything that Max would say, Justin was saying, and everything that Selena would say.
They got the characters all mixed up.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then Peter Marietta kind of rewrote it, and made it make sense a little more. And I'm just going to say his name because everybody's going to know. The director, Lev Spiro, or whatever his name is, was like his big thing, and he did a good job because we had a good movie. But he came up, and you be careful of this, Max. He came up and tried to divide the cast. He tried to pull me away, try to talk about something and do something, and he just was like manipulating us, and I didn't like it,
No, fair, yeah.
So he came up to us one time and was like, David, and I was like, no, Lev, what do you want to say? We're a family here. Like, what is it you want to talk about?
Yeah.
And I don't get really mad all the time, but when I get mad, I get mad. You know what I mean? So Peter Marietta, our showrunner, was there. And there was a scene in the hotel room, and there's not a lot of space, So, Lev said, let's clear the set. Because a lot of times what will happen is you'll talk about it with the actors, and then all of the heads of the department will come in, wardrobe, special effects, and makeup, and everybody, they'll come in and then see the scene again. So we were just kind of working it out. So he said, clear the room to everybody. And everybody left.
Yeah.
And Peter Marietta is like the head of the show.
I love this
and
story.
Lev looked at Peter Marietta and said, clear the set. So Peter Marietta was like, all right, go fuck yourself in his mind. He left the set, he got in the car, went to the hotel, and left the island. He was like,
got
I'm
on
out.
a plane, and he was like, you want me to leave? I'll leave. It was fantastic.
I think I talked to Peter, and he's like, I didn't fly home yet, or whatever.
No, I think he got to that. He bluffs hard. Like he fought for us really, and I'm sure you've seen too, like how important it is to have a showrunner that advocates for what the show is, and that was Peter for us, right? So he really stuck his heels in on certain things that made the show stronger. And so, but when he stuck his heels in, it was like, I'm committing to the bit. I'm going to the airport. I'm like,
it was so good.
Gonna make him sweat.
And that's why, sometimes you have to make friends with it. I did a pilot one time, and I was like the lead guy, and I don't know, we were in a van, somebody got a coffee. It was in Vancouver. We were staying at the Sutton, and we were going in with we were like 2-3 minutes late to set, And it was because the other person in the van got a coffee. And then the showrunner came up to me and was like, Deloise. And he pulled me aside and he was like, don't you ever be late. Don't you ever. And I was like, what did I do? And then I had to go shoot this really great scene, you know? So I realized when you see it later, nobody knows that the producer or somebody, nobody knows what's happening behind the camera because they're just watching what's on the camera.
Well, they also a lot of times don't really care. They just want the end product, right?
Right. So, but what I'm saying is I had to really get and put that away and be like, I will deal with that later. Focus on what's happening now in the scene and what we're shooting.
That great? There's a great like Matt Damon interview where he talks about how he's like, anybody can do it under the right circumstances. If you set up everything perfectly, anybody can do a good job. He goes, being a good actor is about doing it 9:00 on Tuesday. You can do that performance no matter what's happening in your life, no matter what happened on set. You can show up and deliver, and they know that. It's not like all the stars have to align or whatever.
I agree with that. And crying, sometimes people have to. I know this one can cry, right? And
it's because I got a lot of trauma shoved down.
My dad used to say to me, the best way to cry is you pluck a nose hair, and then you start tearing up from that.
I mean, Max, we're telling lots of like on-set stories and things like that. What is something that you've learned? I mean, you've been doing this since you were a kid now, and you're a grown man. So what are some of the things you've learned?
Somewhat.
Well, I mean, all of us are trying. David still somewhat as well. But what's some of the biggest lessons you've learned from set that you've carried on to your future jobs?
Well, specific to crying, nose hair does work. I've learned that if I yawn, I cry.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. So people will like watch me hyping myself up, and I'm just like,
They're like, is he going to be ready for this?
You just made me yawn.
Well, they don't
It's
know why it's contagious. They don't know. Yeah, no, it's there's something if you even talk about yawning. I'm a weird like science whatever person, but like if you talk about yawning, see somebody yawn or even hear a yawn, you're like 80% more likely to yawn yourself.
Right.
And they don't know why. They think there's a theory it might be like empathy related, or like your brain going like, there's all these theories as to why, but they don't exactly know why we yawn.
So in between the 90s run through and going to you yawned as much as you could on the way to
I was catching flies on my way and I was just mouth open.
For the 90s show, how much are y'all crying? What the hell?
No, but there were a couple of, at least in my episode,
Nate's a teary guy.
Yeah, there were a couple of
I'm like an emotionally aware man.
Yeah, because I mean there's like relationship stuff. And I was like, I mean, because you know what's so great too, and about the 90s show, because it is a family, and our show was about a family, and there's something about I always say that sitcom is like has a tempo and a cadence. It's it's set up joke, joke, set up joke, but every once in a while you'll have like a real moment, and that is what makes it so much easier for the audience to care about you. You know what I mean?
Otherwise, you're just all like court jesters.
Right, because that's typically what it is. It's all the setup and the joke and everything, you know?
Yeah, so...
And I have to give kudos. Oh,
No, go, please.
It's like our writing team, they do such a great job. I get teary sometimes at the scripts because I'm like, this is just so sweet. Yeah. I think they find those moments nicely.
Greg Metler is the showrunner. And he was the writer's assistant on Third Rock from the Sun that I did.
You were in that?
Stop it. I always say I was in Third Rock from the Sun, and she's like, oh, really? But Bonnie and Terry Turner, I mean, Bill, who's absolute your first, was our second. And that means assistant director. And there's so many people that I got to see when I did the 90s show that I hadn't seen. And Johnny Foam was the costumes.
Yeah.
I mean,
his beard is magnificent,
yeah, isn't it? And he wears like kilts and stuff. He's so cool.
Yeah.
It was so nice, and that really felt good. You know, it feels good when you go on the set and you know people and they want you there. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah, it feels really good.
It's a very fun set. Yeah. It's a total family, like you were saying. And that really does, I think, come from Bonnie and Terry.
Bonnie and Terry
so
Turner,
intentional.
Who did Third Rock from the Sun. They did the 70s show with Mark Brazil. And something that I learned on Third Rock, because I was doing that show. Oh, I had 2 TV shows too, Max.
Yeah.
I was doing Third Rock and Jesse with Christina Applegate, and there was a guy on there, and I've said his name before, and I don't care. Bruno Campos. He was so mean.
You do this every time. You always go, I'm not going to say his name, and then you say it right.
But he was so mean, and I went up to Jane Curtin, and I was like, Jane, what do you do if you have someone that's not so nice to you, or what? And she goes, you don't know the rule? She said, there's always one. And if you don't know who it is, it's you, is what she said. I was like, okay, but then we got lucky. Every once in a while, you get lucky. And
you have a project without one.
Yeah, and on Third Rock in the Sun, it was amazing. And on 90's show, it was, everybody is like a team. It's so nice,
Yeah.
So it feels good. Listen, thank you so much for being here and letting us pick your brain and being a part of this. And do you have any questions for us?
Oh, man.
He's like, no.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I have one. Can you guys spoil anything for me?
Can we spoil anything?
About
the reboot?
About the reboot,
you mean? Sequel?
I am doing an episode. Jerry Russo is going to be there.
That's a big spoiler.
And I will say this. It would have been nice if I was, and we were there in more of a, in more of a solid capacity, but it's a sequel. It's a different show. And, for me, our reboot is this.
Yeah.
Is this. We get to, I'm not Jerry Russo and you're not Harper.
I'm not?
What? But Who have
I been talking to this whole time?
I wasn't wearing any produce today.
It's us paying homage, but I'm going to be doing 2 episodes. So Jerry Russo will come back.
I have a question for both of you. So in the Max and DeLuise sitcom that's going to happen at some point, what's the storyline? What's the
You mean the show that we're going to do where he plays my son?
Well, it's got to be father-son, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
But what's the hook?
Ooh.
What are you guys doing?
We could do like a little bit of a Freaky Friday thing, maybe.
Oh, I like that.
I got a great idea. So I am an actor on a Disney show, but then I am retired and I got a gambling problem. I do cocaine. I'm all this terrible stuff. And then Max shows up. He's my biological son, but I don't know him yet. Oh. And he acts like a grown-up. And we have to deal with that. Oh my God, I just created a joke.
I like it. All right. Well, when you get back from New York, you guys got to get in the writer's room.
Yeah.
I love it.
That would be cool.
Do it.
I love it. Cocaine Max, Freaky Friday.
Thank you for being here. And everybody will watch the 90's show and also your new show. And you're so great, man. You're so talented.
Thank
and
you
you're so nice.
Yeah.
And
it's always nice to see you.
I fooled you. Let's go.
But it's always nice to see, and you can tell, David and I have been in this business forever, and you can tell when people are genuine and lovely, and there's so many that aren't that way. So it's so nice to see you finding success as a good, genuine human being. Yes. So congratulations, man. I'm so excited to see everything.
Thank you seriously for taking the time to have me on here. This is unbelievably exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Especially
Awesome.
when you're between Elizabeth Banks and Jessica Lange. So.
I know, right? To Max.
We've been playing padel, the most random thing. It's like a
What is
racket
that?
sport.
Oh,
And that is the part that's like the most confusing to me. I'm like, am I playing sports with them right now?
But
it's a little
off
things
camera
like-
or on camera?
Off camera.
Off camera.
Yeah.
It's like we're bonding.
No, it's the little things like that you're like, what's happening? I remember one time I got an email from Slash being like, you're doing a really great job. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? This is way too weird. I lost it too. The email account's gone. But no, it's those little like life
But you know what
moments that you're like those like
Surreal. It's
day-to-day
surreal.
normal things that aren't normal because who you're doing them with.
Yeah.
Right.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Max, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Cheers. Here's to you, my
It's New
friend.
York. Happy shooting.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.